Welcome into 5 Wide Fantasy. Today's video, we're breaking down draft strategy for picks 5 to 8 in fantasy football. So if you have pick 5, 6, 7, or 8, you're going to want to pay attention to how to approach your draft. This fantasy season, I'm going to be breaking down positional strategy. So your running backs, your wide receivers, your tight ends, and your quarterbacks, what you should do, when you should draft them, how you should overall approach it. It's somewhat similar to my picks 1 to 4, but in how you execute it is going to be very different from the middle of your draft as opposed to on either of the ends. So what we'll be doing is breaking down the strategy, and then I'll get into a mock draft and actually demonstrate that strategy and execute it in a draft, because ultimately I could give you the advice, but I got to show you how to be able to do that. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Would really appreciate it. Drop a like on the video if you do enjoy and do find this information valuable. And as always, comment down below. Let me know of any or where you're picking in the draft, some players you might be looking to target, what I think about them. Happy to give any advice there. But let's get into starting with the running backs, and that is really for anyone building a fantasy team. If you're new or if you've been doing this for a while, how you approach the running back position will ultimately set the table in terms of how you build out your draft. And for me, the Hero RB draft strategy seems to be the one I'm looking to go to the most often. The running back position, in my opinion, is one that in the early rounds, you take on far too much implied risk, and the hit rate on these guys isn't nearly as solid as it is at some of these other positions, whether you're talking wide receiver, most importantly, and the one you're looking to at a higher volume, or even some tight ends and some quarterbacks too. But for me, I'm looking to grab one that I think has the upside to finish top 3 at the position, like someone I'm very confident in what the upside looks like for them. I'm not looking to grab a player that, yeah, they've had top 12 seasons before, and that's all I'm looking to get. If I'm taking a running back, I need one to be that, again, the hero, the guy that leads my team and keeps me at that level at the running back position, where I can look to fill out that second spot later in the draft with some later picks. But all I want to focus on for anybody that's new to fantasy football, or at least and at the very least for anyone for this season, is don't be in the mindset you need to have 3 startable running backs. The flex spots are not there for your running backs. In my opinion, if you're in a PPR league especially, that is for a second wide receiver, and even if you're in or your third wide receiver, and if you're in a 2-flex league, another wide receiver, and put both wide receivers there. So for me, from this spot, what I find myself doing the most often is the hero strategy with a Bijan Robinson. But even so, if I want to take maybe a tight end, which we'll talk about a little bit, I could even go with a tight end or wide receiver and have a Tony Pollard or something like that be my hero in the second round. But on Austin Eckler or Bijan Robinson, those are the 2 guys I'm really looking as my hero RBs from this middle round, or from these middle picks from 5 to 8, and then from the outs or beyond that afterwards, I'm highly unlikely to touch the running back position in rounds 3 to 6. I think there's too many question marks when it comes to either production, a productive offense, a good offense to be able to be successful in as a running back, the skill set that they have, and also the opportunity share. It's not always as solid with some of these guys in rounds 3 to 6. But I could do a double hero RB strategy, which was a really successful one last year. If you wanted to go a Bijan Robinson and Tony Pollard, or an Austin Eckler and a Tony Pollard, I'm not opposed to that either, because I think he can still really build out a solid team. At the wide receiver position, one that'll be similar to what I talked about in picks 1 to 4, but from 5 to 8, I'm still looking to secure 3 to 4 wide receivers in the first 6 rounds, depending on whether or not I address quarterback or tight end this early. What I'm looking to do is definitely lock in wide receiver with plenty of guys, because there's just so much assured opportunity when it comes to the wide receiver position in these early rounds. These are guys with really high profiles, really high target shares, and ultimately the only thing that can do away with their performance is really just an injury. But by the later rounds, what I'm able to do with taking receiver so early is then take flyers on rookies or high upside players in those later rounds. So I'm always really solid at the receiver spot. Now for tight ends, it's really elite tight end or bust for me. If I don't grab one of these elite guys, I'm going to be waiting basically at the end of the draft and take a couple flyers on guys like Sam Laporta or maybe a Gerald Everett. But what I'm looking to do from this spot in picks 5 to 8, you have a great opportunity. I've built some teams I absolutely love with Travis Kelce in the first round. So if you're anywhere from picks 5 to 8, I'm definitely happy with Travis Kelce on my team. It might be something we build out when we run this mock draft, but another potential target for me is Darren Waller in the 6th round. I definitely love him there. If you're able to get him in the middle of the 6th, I'm even taking him in the early 6th as well. And I love getting the ability to kind of pair an elite tight end with not being trigger happy at running back. I think it gives you a massive advantage when it comes to a consistency standpoint, week in and week out, keeping you from having those, for some in half PPR leagues, like an 85-point week. When you have an elite tight end and then you have really good wide receivers like we're doing here with 3 to 4 in the first 6 rounds, you have great consistency. Whereas, you can see some running backs in a game that's a real big blowout. If they're not a guy, if they're a guy you've been drafting as like, let's say a Nick Chubb or a Derrick Henry that benefits from volume, being able to score touchdowns, if they get into a losing game script, you might be in some trouble. The receiver position keeps you from getting into that trouble. Quarterback, the last one we'll get to until we get into the mock draft. Quarterback is the most, I find from picks 5 to 8, this is the most unlikely draft spot for me to be able to get an elite quarterback. There are a few that I do want to take. And if I start with running back, wide receiver, so let's say I start, which I'd love to start Bijan Robinson and Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Bijan Robinson, Garrett Wilson, then I'd be willing to take Lamar Jackson in the middle of the third because I feel really, really solid at those 2 spots. And then I want to kind of get that difference maker at the quarterback spot. But if not, I'm more than likely to be looking for a player to stack with one of my other guys, whether it's a Daniel Jones with Darren Waller, a Deshaun Watson with Amari Cooper, a Kirk Cousins with a Jordan Addison or a TJ Hawkinson, and then a Jared Goff with maybe an Amon-Ra St. Brown. So quarterback, this is a spot where you're less likely to get those elite high-level guys, but I think that's not a problem. There's still some guys I really like that are going a little bit later. Okay, now before we get to the mock draft, today's video is brought to you by the Stunt. If you haven't checked out this video, you absolutely should, to tell you a little bit about what they're all about. Social media is such a crowded space these days. If you're looking for sports content on the latest news, advice, or hell, even entertainment, it can be cluttered by content you don't actually want to see. That's where the Stunt comes in. They've taken all the elements of your favorite social media apps, brought it to one place, and made it about the one thing we love most: sports. Stunt was founded by an ex-Google employee, so the design is eye-popping and the navigation is simple. Check out the latest takes, sparks, and live rooms from us and other content creators like Trey Wingo and Michael Irvin. Don't just follow sports, be a part of the conversation. Download the Stunt app today. Hey guys, be sure to follow us on the Stunt, OwnersBox on the Stunt. We'll be running a live room this Thursday as well. I'll be posting it on the community, sharing it in our Discord. We'll be previewing the AFC and NFC West with my favorite busts, breakouts, and sleepers, and as well any division predictions we like for the season. So would love to hear from any fans in those divisions. If you are, drop in. Would love to hear about your team, what you think is coming up for the year, and then maybe anything that I might not know about them. Would love to hear you in the live room on the Stunt. The link to download is down below in the description, so be sure to check them out. All right, as we jump in the mock draft here, there is obviously we've got 4 different spots we can draft from. I think what I'll look to do here is go from the 7 spot. This probably gives me a variety of different outcomes of who would be available, and then give me an idea of what I want to do. I mean, it could be a little bit different from pick 5 to pick 8, but I think if you're in that 6 or 7, for me to be able to demonstrate this, I think this would be the best way for me to kind of put forth this strategy. So again, the early rounds, I'm really looking to take the best player available to me, but I do, from this particular area of the draft, I do find that I'm more looking for the strategy of, hey, I want to grab a running back. Won't be able to do it here, so I'm even luckier now to be able to use Travis Kelce in this strategy. Cooper Kupp is a player I have ranked higher, but with what I'm seeing here of those 3 running backs gone, I do feel like there's going to be another really solid wide receiver fall to me, and the positional advantage with Kelce is so massive. And again, I've really liked the teams I've built with him. So we'll start with Kelce, and we'll see what we can do moving forward. So again, just paying attention to the draft, looking at the positions. It's looking like right now we're seeing some running backs fall all the way to me. Yeah, Derrick Henry falls all the way to me. Garrett Wilson would be a player I'm eager to draft, but I think in this particular spot, I'm good with Derrick Henry as my hero. I don't love the Titans' offense and the offensive line for him, but I know the volume will be there for Henry, so I like going with him as the hero. Garrett Wilson, Tony Pollard would be players I have. You know what? I do have Pollard ahead of Henry in my rankings, so I think I'll go with Pollard actually. Because again, Henry's just a player I'm a little bit concerned about the overall success of the offense, and that age plateau that could potentially be there. But now we have our hero RB, we have that positional advantage at tight end, and then I get Devontae Smith falling to me, and that's just an easy pick for me. He's a top 12 receiver for me this season. So really good start. Now we can really pay attention to the wide receiver position for moving forward here. Obviously, we miss out on a Lamar Jackson, but I'm good with that, because once I take tight end that early, I'm not looking to go, tight end, running back, quarterback. I think that you just be sacrificing too much at the receiver position. The next guy up in my rankings would be Amari Cooper, and that kind of gives me the opportunity as well to stack Cooper with Deshaun Watson if Watson comes back. He is a little bit higher than Keenan Allen in my rankings, so I'm going to go Cooper in this spot here. So I think a good start at the wide receiver position with these two guys. And again, these next few picks, now I just really get to look at wide receiver and crush that position. So I really like the opportunity we get there. From that kind of start, this is really ideal. TJ Hawkinson, J.K. Dobbins, Judy London. Judy would be my highest guy right now. Yeah, Judy would be my highest rated wide receiver. So I think Judy in an offense that does still have a little bit of concern, but I like the coordinator change to be able to help them offensively quite a bit. And then we'll see what we get in terms of receivers falling back to us. So we're in round 6. Watson's a player I'll look to get in round 7 to stack with him. We're relying on him making it back. I would expect him to make it back. So in this spot, Christian Kirk is my next highest graded receiver. Yeah, so Christian Kirk will be the receiver there. What I like with Kirk is I know a lot of people are very excited about Calvin Ridley, but since Lawrence has entered the league, the slot has been a constant target for him, even before Kirk arrived. So I think this is an offense that was top 10 in scoring last season. Even with the arrival of Ridley, I do still think there's enough of a share here for Kirk to have a really good year too. And I think I'm going to assure the stack here is what I'll probably go with. It's a little bit early. Like it's definitely not early for Watson, and I know I won't get him on the comeback. So for me, this is a perfect time to do I'm always happy to assure a stack. I'm happy to reach to be able to grab it here. So we're definitely going to go with that. Jahan Dotson's definitely the player that sticks out to me here. I think we're really going to heavily ride this hero strategy and really look to kind of punt the running back spot till later. So I'm going to go with Dotson because just amongst the running backs that are left here, Dotson is far and away my guy in this spot. So again, we've really heavily 5 wide receivers. I think it's always, for me, I like going, especially if you go tight end and running back to start, you're not getting like the really, really high level guy. So being able to fill out the depth of, for Smith and Cooper, there's both players in my top 12. So I really like what I have. But at this point, we're really built out the depth there, and now we can kind of crush running back to finish this thing out. Herbert Williams, Kirk Cousins, Cortland Sutton is still available. Damn, I do like Sutton, but at where I'm at with receiver, I definitely want to make sure I grab a running back. It's really between Jamal Williams and Khalil Herbert. I'm going to go with Williams because I do think this offense takes a significant step forward, and I do think that Kamara's role will be really set up to be in the receiving game. And if this offense has the easiest schedule in the entire league, Williams can be that direct beneficiary when it comes to the touchdowns. So go with him there. And then what I'm really looking to do here is I do think that it's really between Mitchell and McKinnon. For me, Mitchell's a great handcuff to have and going to give you a ton of value if anything happens to McCaffrey, whether you play him or whether you trade him to the McCaffrey owner. But where I'm at with my running back position right now, I want to have a little bit more of a playable asset, and McKinnon is that to me. Posted 56 receptions last year. Running backs that post 50-plus receptions on average finish as the RB11. McKinnon finished as the RB20 in PPR last season. But in my mind, his role is pretty well set in stone. And as well, you look at the offensive weapons at the receiver spot, there's even less proven guys at that spot now. So very, very much for McKinnon as a player that I can play week to week. I'm surprised Tyler Algier made it all the way back to me. He is definitely the player that I would go with in this spot pretty easily. I'm very high on Bijan Robinson. He's my RB2 this year, but with the amount of volume that the Falcons run the football, Algier's still going to have a role. And then obviously as a handcuff, it's like the best handcuff, I would say, in fantasy football this year. So an easy pick there. What else do we have at running back? Jalen Warren, Roshan Johnson would be the 2 guys I like here. Again, I built out 5 wide receivers, and now we have 4 running backs. If there's a wide receiver I do really like, I could go back to him. But I think I will continue with running back, and I will go with Jalen Warren because I've loved Warren's talent. I'm not completely sold on Najee continuing to have a really, really high-level role in this offense in terms of the entire volume. And if he doesn't have all the volume, he's not going to be a very productive player. Warren's an explosive guy. Collins doesn't make it back. So he would have been the guy I would have looked to take there. Between the others, Tank Dell. Yeah, we're just going to I think I'm going to just keep kind of crushing the running back spot. Jeff Wilson is a player that I think is second on the depth chart behind Raheem Mostert. Devon Achane will, I think, build out a role for himself. But Wilson was the guy when he arrived in Miami, was getting the touchdown opportunities. And I think that's really where there's value in this offense, is who's going to be scoring the touchdowns. And then I think I think we just keep going running back, man. I think what I'm going to go with is it's either Zamir White or Gus Edwards. Zamir White is obviously what's Josh Jacobs looking like after he's missed all his time in camp. It looks like he's going to come back, but White's had the chance to work with the first team. Edwards is a player that's proven production when he's been given opportunities. J.K. Dobbins is a player that when he's on the field last year, he was great, but being able to stay on the field has been tough for him in his NFL career. I like their offense a little bit more, so I'll go with Edwards. So again, just crushing running back in these last 6 rounds or so. I just added, 6 backs to my team on top of our hero RB and Tony Pollard. So again, building out the roster, here's what things look like. Deshaun Watson at the quarterback spot, stacked with Amari Cooper. Tony Pollard, Jamal Williams as the starters at running back, Devontae Smith as my second wide receiver, or my first wide receiver, second with Amari Cooper. Travis Kelce giving us a great positional advantage at the tight end spot. Jerry Jeudy, Christian Kirk in the flex, and then we have Jahan Dotson as our wide receiver on the bench, and then a ton of guys with really interesting opportunities between Jerick McKinnon, Tyler Algier, Jalen Warren, Jeff Wilson, and Gus Edwards, crushing out the running back as we look to this hero RB strategy to build out our team. But again, positional advantage at tight end. We've got a quarterback who has the upside to be the quarterback 1 overall if he regains his form as the best deep ball passer in the NFL just a few seasons ago. So love what we have in this team. Again, from the middle parts of the draft, we're looking to probably be able to get either the positional advantage at tight end or positional advantage at quarterback in this particular draft. Being able to get Kelce off the hop is really beneficial for the rest of the season. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to let me know. Hit that subscribe button, like the video as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.